Haven't gotten a C-17 chemtrailing in a while, but here we go. Some military transport planes do participate in this program. There we go, C-17. I thought it was a 747 at first, but it isn't. It's a C-17. Remember, until the people see, nothing changes. Here's my horizon at sunset on the 3rd of November. Look at all this. These smears, these streaks crossing the western sky. And these parallel triangles, there are these parallel trails, all weeping their particulates. All of them. All of them covering the sky. This is what we'll be advancing in on the area tonight. If you're an amateur astronomer, like I am, it's unfortunate because this profoundly reduces our inability to see the sky at night. It just wrecks our visibility. Time and time again, night after night, this stuff hampers our ability to see and study the sky. I know the observatories outside of Tucson, Arizona, outside of Flagstaff, have all commented publicly on the increasing traffic of air trails and their presence inhibiting the ability of these observatories, these national observatories, to do science. Not to obscure Nibiru, not to do anything that nefarious, but just gets in the way of doing their job. I wonder if they really know what's going on. First plane I've heard this morning is Sunday morning, 4 November. Outside we've kind of been stuck into this rather thin overcast. On the satellite imagery it's not that extensive. So there's blue skies all around. We just have this little wedge of clouds we're stuck under. It's largely clear to the west over the San Juans down in New Mexico, but it is cloudier to the north as I've got an impulse moving through the Dakotas. Clear zone of the sky, boom, painted up Southwest 737. Right on through it. And he was low enough that I heard him and thought, that guy needs to go be investigated. So I popped outside to throw the camera up. This storm on the East Coast still looks to be a Thursday event, Election Day. About the only states that will be impacted by weather would be, say, Wisconsin, curiously enough. And then maybe Georgia, the Carolinas, eastern Tennessee or so. But otherwise, it looks like it's going to be a fairly uneventful election day. Now, what we have going on across the Dakotas now and into the Canadian Prairie provinces is going to develop into another nor'easter. The question is, how close to the coast will this next storm be? And the guidance that came in this morning versus last night's model, we run these models every 6 to 12 hours. I only have access to the 12-hour intervals, but we are seeing a storm that could pull snow into the higher elevations, simply anything above about 1,000 feet north of DC or the Mason-Dixon line into New England. So it is going to be a winterish-like storm. There's another one coming in through that same opening. So we're going to watch this storm. We still have so many people without power, so many people without delivery of petroleum products, whether it's heating oil, kerosene, to keep their houses warm. And that's going to be the big challenge for FEMA and the state relief agencies, to get those people heating supplies as we move on into this next storm. So that's going to be the big challenge. This is quite the blue trail. It's a very, very blue trail. So we've got a storm coming in the west, just as that nor'easter now moving or developing and will move off the east coast towards the end of this coming week. Will initiate a pattern change. The Greenland block gives up, and once it moves, we'll see an entire flip-flop, with the trophiness and the cold moving into the west, snows into Montana, Siskiyous, Bitterroots of Idaho, the Teton Ranges, probably into the northern portions of Colorado. Snow may fall to the valley floors in the central and northern Rockies, and even into Washington and Oregon, even into northern California. We'll finally see some rains and some moistures, probably well south of San Francisco. So this is very, very welcome change in the west that has been so dry through this fall season. So we'll do a little map discussion. I really don't have a whole lot to look at here. We're kind of, this diffuse clouds overhead. The trails are still ever present, doing, what they need to do, marking up the sky, making sure the waves are in alignment, and the clouds, at least here, disturbed enough that they don't put down any moisture. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Big jets just keep flying through our skies. I'm looking straight overhead. Nice little trail there. Came out because it sounded like it was a 747 or something with 4 engines. I saw a C-17 military cargo trailing yesterday, and I'll include that in this video for this Sunday. But all our clouds look like they're low cumulus, but they're kind of stuck between the mid-level and the lower levels, and they're all just hashed and hazed up. Something just continues to just rip them apart. I would hope that that would become apparent on the visible imagery, but there's just no cohesion. They just look like there's these waves rolling through them to keep them convoluted in their structure. Almost cumulus, but not quite. Some super low trails, probably sub 15,000 feet. I've kind of been working through, been watching them going and hesitated coming out to have a look, but I just had to shoot them. They're just too low. Low, 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 like what you'd see in Hawaii. They're low. There's just little shapes in here that they seem to cross very precisely, that one in particular. And out into the V, with inverted V's on top. Chevrons below, chevrons on top. See what he's doing. Delta, I think. This guy's also very low. You can tell by the shadow cast by the trail onto the cloud below. And it's just right there. Come back away so we can get a little bit more of an angle with it. But he's low. You see a short trail, or short distance between the trail and the shadow. Actually clipped the front of these other two low trails. And there's a shadow, a little better illustration of that. So he's just right on him. Right on him, just a touch above. So maybe he's crossed them at the northernmost extent or upward extent of where the powders and essentially the depth that they've spread. Coming right out of the clouds, looking out to the east, and I see this guy. I'm like, ooh, he's a big boy. That's 4 engines there. So let's figure out who's flying his paint, since we're just gonna have a favorable look overhead. And then, bring this up to my eye. It's not a regular plane. It's a cargo plane. It's military. You can begin to hear it now. This is the 3rd one of these I've seen in 2 days. The other one is a C-17. This is bigger. But he is, boom, leaving. It's definitely a chemtrail. There's no question about that. No question. Nice gap there at the beginning of the cloud. And he's cruising overhead. And he sounds like he's in descent. Definitely in descent. So this trail has a rising angle as it approaches the east. Remember, if we're going to paint out airfoils over the mountains, you can shape them. So he's almost in coast. So if he's coasting, are his engines throttled up so high that they're kicking out all this exhaust at this altitude? I'm hearing another plane behind me. This is serious. Boom. Let's find the other plane. See if there's something this. I want to say C-117 left. Yeah, little planes come right across it, headed south. Seems like he's just a bit higher, being above the clouds. Just a little jet, probably Cessna or Lear. I'm going to pause and have a look off to the west. So again, he's kind of gone right through. This is kind of an interesting shape here. You can see how, I mean, we've got girdles on it. We've got definitely bands in it, so there's something happening there, being pushed this way. And then at the top, all of this fluttering, all of this feathering, unusual, as is this shape. With little curls in here, and then he goes into, essentially, this bit of a segment right there. We have a gap in the trail, and then he's into the next cloud. That's certainly staying bright. Got a nice uplift here, so this may be descending air, this may be uplifting air, and that's what an aspect of these trails is to do, is to change their character depending on the vertical velocity of that parcel of atmosphere. So if we had these military planes flying overhead all the time doing this, it would definitely have our attention. But I gotta bring this up to the eye. So we're gonna be a little steadier. Now it almost looks like we're going full, there's another mixture happening. See an ending right there. So it's like something else, some of the glue to bond these particles was released at that point. Now he's just getting to be a distance away. It makes it tough for me to hold steady. But he's interested in this segment. There's definitely something there. Definitely something in this cloud. Right there with that sharp, sharp, sharp upper edge. And there's another deliberate opening right there. It's being pierced rather accurately, if I might say so. A little lenticular at a wave cloud, or a standing wave cloud. Not quite in alignment, but who's to say which direction it's moving. Behind me, there's the trail that he's left. Nice mark there with the kink here. Then just this vast opening that this other little business jet cruised on through, leaving a trail. And even this guy, about right in there, come into touch. But right in there, you can see the break point. The trail maintains its togetherness and then fans out and then ultimately fades, but there's still a flare off at the end. Still a flare to end that trail. So now we had the military jet going here. This whole shape, this whole thing is just convoluted to no end. And I got a cube in here. You can see the blue area where there's definitely a cube and some feathering of the clouds that is in alignment. And we've got a grid here, and we have this evacuated point. That is odd. We've got another one taking shape here. Here's our old little mini jet that cruised on through that trail. But then there's this other structure. And it's this stuff with this huge V here, this huge 90-degree cube, corner of a square that they're interested in. These are their targets. And once we begin looking at the shapes that the trails make in the sky, then we begin to find solutions to our long asked questions. So with lots and lots of mid to low clouds across the area, but low enough that the planes feel comfortable flying through. This is a curious feature. This little curl here is odd. And so much so But I can give you an idea of how it's twisting by the way this previous chemtrail has been flown all the way across. You can see that it's just hitting the peaks of the waves. And this is what the trail's are there for, not to poison us, although there is fallout. There always is in warfare of some kind, and that's what we're dealing with, is them warring to control the atmosphere. But this is what they're doing, is they're measuring and watching how these clouds undulate. And this is just, I wish I'd been out here about 3 minutes earlier to grab that because it was so clear. So clear. But that's a nice spot. Another odd cloud formation overhead. Pseudo-lenticulars off the mountain starting to come together. But they're still put a line up there where these clouds below begin to form, saying, hey, watch this spot. Back over here. Look at this big tear in this trail. Look at that big old crunch in an oval of a clearer sky. Another trail that's come along, did a little big zigzag, and then on and up. And so they're just running these trails so they can see how the atmosphere responds. On the horizon, you can see these big pushes. Look at that huge bang that trail hits off to the left in a huge way. These are all disturbances that have been artificially introduced into the sky. And that's what the trails do. Just measure out those artificial disturbances so they can see how effective they are, how strong they are, and precisely where they begin and end. And that's what the straight lines of the trails deform to give them information to. Up above, nice little curly cues, some going this way, and then these going this way. So here's our zero line, here's our meridian. You see that? Trails come this way, trails come this way. They sprout from that point. Just looking at all the different textures inside the bottom of these clouds. And they're just kind of widely varying. Be a kind way to put it. I mean, so many different textures all next to each other. It's just kind of on the verge of weird. I mean, interesting. Sunset and this angle of illuminating the clouds from below just really kind of brings a lot out. A lot of different texture. It's just kind of, I don't know, presented without comment. This guy's coming in. Check out something that happened here on this trail. Looks like it went below it. You can see the powders. Definitely have a mark here, a gap here, and then certainly right here there's something where the trail breaks towards the lower right. Trail has gone essentially through the center part of the bar that connects this anomaly here, and then this anomaly here, went right across the middle of it. Powder drops on the this trail here. Look how it augers. Look how it rotates right there. Boom, 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 boom. And it ends up straight once it moves out of the turbulence zone. It's crazy. Powders just once you cross this upper right to lower left trail, how they just begin to sag out. Trails are there to reveal how the air is moving, how the air is deforming. I don't really care how the trails get out of the plains. It's kind of irrelevant. It's why are they there, and what are they looking for, and why is it so important? That's the issue. That's the issue. Either it's with weather, or it's with something dimensional. Either way, it demands incredible secrecy and incredible expense. Nothing changes until the people see what's going on.